Good evening. Good evening. Hello out there. Glad to have you back and glad to be back. I hope you had a nice Easter weekend. Given the circumstances, I guess it wasn't really about looking for eggs. Yes, today is a little bit of an odd session because frankly, I'm still tired from the weekend. Was a very interesting one. So I grabbed a rack that I wanted to talk about anyway, and you can already find it in the description below if you are totally eager about destroying some kicks right now instead of watching me explain what it does. First things first, this channel cracked 1,000 subscribers, which, given the millions of people following like Gangnam Style stuff, is not that much for me. It's kind of a big deal. I mean, it's a milestone, really. 1,000 it's a milestone, right? So yay, hooray for that! And yeah, let me check who we have on the stream already. So hello Tom, hello Elohym. How are you guys doing? I'm not sure if this. It seems to be working. Can I get some kind of confirmation that it is, maybe from the chat? Would be great. Otherwise, I will just keep talking. Yeah, why am I still tired from the weekend? That was an interesting one. It was time for Easter, as usual. Every year, it's reserved for the big demo scene event, which for the last 10 years has been Revision. And usually that's where 1,000 computer enthusiasts / nerds gather in one hall to create stuff and celebrate creativity / getting drunk for 3 days. And for the first time ever, it was a remote event, and I'm completely blown away by that. And for the event, I also made a DJ set, which was kind of ambitious to get a lot of music into 60 minutes. That was interesting, but it made me figure out I could also be doing DJ streams sometime soon. I haven't thought about that, and if anyone's interested, please leave me a comment, like how I structure my mixes and how I get prepared, if I get prepared at all. I mean, this is really the first time I thoroughly prepared for a set, but it really worked out well. And if you want to, you can also check it out on SoundCloud if you want to hear for yourself if the Spice Girls and Fatboy Slim really work, or Public Enemy and Gesaffelstein, how that works, or if it doesn't. You can find it on SoundCloud here. And yes, I also shared some thoughts about the DJ set with my patrons already, because there were some people interested in DJing. So I really think about doing stuff around this topic as well. The chat is so silent. That is unusual. Wonder if I'm connected correctly, because this is also supposed to be an Ask Me Anything session. When I'm done with the kick rack dissection, I depend on people asking me things. I also started setting or testing a setup on Twitch yesterday for DJing, and what was supposed to be just a quick experiment happened to be a 6.5 hour set. which you can also find there if you need some music to survive a day, one of these days, and if you're into deep music, deep house music, this is where you can find it, twitch.tv/arctic909. Still nothing going on the chat. Can anyone say anything, or maybe let me refresh that really quick? Yeah, I mean, right now this is the 8th stream. I wouldn't mind if at some point things have to go wrong, right? Okay, I missed a lot, it seems. Hello, Mark. Hello, Oski. Hello, Christian Lopez. Reis is back. Hey, Felix. JCO, welcome back. Michael Jadane. Hello, Scott Kelly. Good evening. Isa is back as well. Hi. And thank you very much for the congratulations, sir. David T-Style. Hello. Yeah, thank you very much, Kershi. So, yes, the chat is working. It was a hiccup on my end, it seems. Whatever. Let me get rid of something. Hello, Costa. So, first things first, I have, after the last stream, where I was mucking around with some droney, techno-y stuff, and I used Gullfoss for taming resonances and making a few sounds more pleasant, I got asked about it and how I'm using it quite a number of times. And because I know the developer and he's also part of the Vault community, we figured out that we would like to give you all a little saving. So for today until March 15th, you can use the code Arctic30 to get 30% off the regular price for Gullfoss, which is, I think, 180, and you'll be saving 54 euros. Yes, that's that. And it's valid until March 15, and I'd already said that. So, yeah, I don't get anything out of that. This is just a little bit of service for you. There is no weird sponsorship, and I like to make clear that I only would do such things with or for products I personally use and deem good. Yeah. Just for the record, this isn't going to be an advertising channel for anyone who wants to sell a new product, unless I think it's a really good one. So, and we already have a question, and I would like to put the questions a little bit to the part after me talking about the rack, just to put a check on the I'm sharing something with you part that was prepared beforehand. So, but the question is just for the record, and please remind me about that. Elohym, what do you think about analog summing mixer? Yes, please remind me about that. Hello, Agustin Alvarez. Arthur Gelliston. Hey, you wanted to contact me, right? No, that was that you? I don't know. I haven't received anything. Anyway, let's get into this kick destruction thing really quick, and let me put myself in short. So lo and behold, what we have for the beginning is nothing but a boring 909 bass drum, and I hope the levels are okay. Let me check, and I don't hear anything. Yep, that looks about right. So super interesting It's I think it's even the standard 909 kick from the Ableton pack or library. So, and what this rack that you can find in the description below already does is this. So it's really messing shit up in a number of ways, and I would like to go through that. Hello, peace is back. That's good. I need peace. So what do we have here? And why does it sound so gritty? And let me disable this just for a second again. And at the heart of this rack is, if you watched the last stream, I like stacking up stuff in a number of ways. Last time we stacked up 4 saturators to create something interesting. And in this case, we have a combination of 2 amps doing their thing and then some more things. And what you probably don't hear right now is the kind of noise that's already present in the kick. And I really love using amps also for dub techno chords. If you want these really strange fizzly things where the noise comes out really nicely, amp is a really good starting point to bring out what's hidden in the signal and blast that out. Let's get back to this and disable that, and you can see it's really getting uninteresting very quickly. Why does the kick sound different? It's all disabled. That's interesting. I didn't expect that. Ah, there it is. The macros. Elohym, yes, Goa later. Yeah. So, what does it do? And for one, we've talked about that already at first. There is a little bit of reverb, and it's not that present right now. It's just to give it a little bit of the rumble stick treatment. And boring reverb. Just for the sake of having a little bit more rhythmic stuff, I added a filter delay that is sitting on top, and the idea is when the amp takes action, it will really smack together everything, and all the tiny things that are present will be boosted by factor 10. It's like putting the sound under the lens. Then I added a layer of dirt because more noise is always nice. That's why I can't disable that. I gave the control to the macro, and this is where it gets interesting. So amp. And also let's disable that really quick and check along with the frequency analyzer. So right now we have the bass drum, and it still has something going on in the subs. And right now it diminishes because the amp is really focusing on bringing out all the filth and grit that's sitting on top. So we need that back somehow. For some reason, after the amp, I also... What did that do? Ah, yeah, that's the dynamic tube, and what this does, I have to explain once we are through this channel. No, that's the other thing. Sorry. Like I said, I'm a little bit tired I hope you don't mind. So this is the vinyl distortion thing, just adding more noise, because this is the dynamic tube, which does some interesting things, and it doesn't sound too radical here, but let's enable the second amp. And now let's disable this one again to get the difference. I think it sounds a little bit more tame, not too focused. The dynamic tube, it seems to compress the sound somehow a little bit more. Fender movement, can we have the music a little bit louder? According to my experience with that, this should be too loud. If that works for you. So, at this point, I think it lacks bass. It doesn't really kick through. It's just rumbling on top, and I potentially don't want to use another layer. So let's reinforce the low end with the resonance of a high-pass filter. And there it comes back. Yeah, the loudness war, different way. Too loud, not loud enough. Yeah, it probably sounds stupidly loud on a phone because it is a stupendously loud sound, and I will release you from that very soon, unless you are into that. So, and this should be more standable right now. This ultimately forces the bass back down. And I have also removed the rumbly low end for reasons. I think it's just a security thing, just in case, to have more control over potential bass sound sitting underneath. However, it's interesting how in this cascade of things, each step matters. Yeah, let's talk about the details. That's a good question. JCO is asking, what is the sub-focus? It's not a dynamic EQ. It is actually the control of the cutoff frequency of the high pass filter. Yeah, I'm using way too much resonance here to reinforce the low end. No bass, and the focus I put into the macro, so you can, depending on the sample, select where you want the resonance to sit. And it doesn't do much if you're cutting too low. But around this area, it gets interesting with this sample. And fun fact, by the way, I also enabled a high pass filter here. Why is it so complicated today? Interesting difference. And it's once again, the subs don't pass through this kind of brick wall destruction processing. However, along the way, if I wouldn't do that, they would also interact with the amps and everything that's going on, and I want to have, in this case, or when I'm making kicks like that or totally destructed sounds, to not have too much low end going on. In this case, frequencies below 20 or 30 hertz. I think it's just more air and also more bass, even though we are removing information right now. What else do we have here? Yeah, and that, like I said, the reverb. Way too much, and it sucks. Without both. That's still a cool sound, but I like the rhythmic stuff that's going on here, as well as a little bit of reverb for rumble business. George asks, does it need a limiter because of a click on the kick? No, it doesn't need an additional limiter, because what the amp does is also a form of limiting. It's just radical distortion. I mean, limiting is the idea of taking a knife and making small adjustments. This is based on going completely whack anyway, so no limiter necessary. It already limits things in a number of ways, twice. Hello Sean, hey Kirkwood, and hello I need to up my Cyrillic. Maybe I should disable that again. And it's depending on what you throw in here, you obviously get a lot of different and interesting results. But this rack is a really good tool to, well, transform any bass drum into something that is hardcore. So JCO asked, sorry for being slow here, but are you crossovering away the highs here and only processing them with this chain? So sub just goes through? No, I'm cutting away the subs. This is the high pass filters are set below the bass in the sub range. So in a way, your assumption is correct. I'm only processing what's left, but it still contains a lot of bass information. Phantom Movement asks, how do you determine the decay and release times of the kick? That's a good one. So let's listen to that within the context of the destruction, and I think the answer is becoming obvious. That is a mess. Even if I disabled all the stuff. No, wait, there is a compressor in the end. I didn't mention that. However, this kind of kick is supposed to be rough and super punchy. In order to achieve that, I want the compressor to have a short rest in between the sounds, at least not deliver too much low-end information, so it can smack down on the next hit or click or attack with maximum force, so it doesn't go a short range, but from as far as I can get it down. And therefore dialing down the release is important. Check out the effect it has on the attack. Solid? No. And even this is too loud right now. And now the attack starts to become way more fuzzy. And I would probably, if I used this one for a track, what I would do probably is taking a sample of just this kick with maximum punch, and then maybe with a little bit of reverb, just to be sure that it's not acting up along the way. I mean, it removes a little bit of modulation possibility and fun, but if you want maximum punch, I would go for a sample. And you also free up CPU space, so another chat question. Hi Ronnie, I have a question about DIGICheck. Sound from audio card does not go into DIGICheck. How correct you tune it? Do you mean that your DIGICheck doesn't display sound from the input devices? If that is the case, and I assume it is, you can go into input device settings and choose between input and playback, and also make sure that you are using the correct channel. But it can be confusing sometimes. I'm also confused sometimes if I'm monitoring the playback. I don't know why this was set. Yeah, it was set to input because beforehand I was using it to stream on Twitch, and I wanted to see the levels coming in from Tractor into the audio device. So that's why I put it to input, and right now I want to see the playback. It still gives me input because, and that is also a nice thing about these RME cards, you have the possibility, and let me disable that for a second. That's just too much. You can send anything. Oh, sorry, if I disable that right now, you don't hear my voice anymore. Or you still should. Anyway, you can route the output back to any input. Or no, not to any input, but to the same input here. So, stuff to be aware of with ARMY features I really like. Hope that answers your question. What else is there to say about this one? Let's just, for the sake of trying, throw another sample to that. Instant drum and bass. I really like how some cleverly used stock effects can go quite a long way. I mean, all these are pretty nice sounds. Whoa. Anything else? boring. Not so boring anymore. Anyway, let's disable that for a second. There was another question. Quick says, would be good to modulate that rhythmic flavor coming in and out. Yeah, it's probably a little bit tricky to modulate anything in between. You have to make sure it doesn't sit too much in the low end. Otherwise, you will likely, if you have modulations that overlap with the kick's attack, you're losing punch in the end. And that's probably very hard to reinforce with such a strongly distorted sound. Hello, Michael. Michael says, you will sample this kick to get the punch and then sample the rumble delay stuff to layer, right? Depends. If it's just a kick that I don't want to do anything fancy with, I would just sample that and use it as a sample. I mean, I lost the kick again. Let's put it back in here. Where is it? Was this one right? Let's try something just to verify that. Wouldn't know what to modulate or why I would want to have the reverb separately. I mean, the thing with the kick sample and the reverb is the idea is to bake in the rumbles so they eat each other away and really create this mess, and you can't really record it separately. I wouldn't even know how to do that. If you separate the kick from the reverb, it sounds completely different. Probably it will 99% sure not sound like that, so I wouldn't do that. JCO says, I think those magical M things are the trick. Yes, and by the way, I decided this morning, okay, I will talk about that. I'm a little bit tired and I don't know what else. And if I had more time, and maybe I should do that in Ableton, Bitwig as well. And you can probably use any kind of amp out there and just use a number of things. It's a different approach to the technique of the last session with stacking up saturators. And I mean, Mick Gordon is stacking up amps and compressors and all that stuff as well. Is really grinding stuff down again and again and again, brings out all the grit and filth and dirt that's in there. And that's really the idea that defines, for me, this very harsh and industrial techno sound. And not even just in kicks, but in general. So stacking up amps and distortions is always a great idea and probably a great playground. You just need to be aware of the low end having a very huge impact on the response of the entire chain. Like I show you here, it's quite a lot of impact. It's not that much of an impact. No, it does something in very low area. I think this sounds more boxy and less punchy without. And what this is removing, just for the record, do I have spans sitting around? Maybe it's even adding something. I'm completely mistaken. Let's check that out really quick. I'm interested as well. What happens? Yeah. So this one almost acts like a DC filter. And everything that is sitting around here, it does a lot with distortions and amps and all that stuff on the long run. And interestingly enough, yes, I'm also using a lot of resonance to reinforce the bass area around here. So it's not just about removing this area, but I also added some low end because, behold, it goes on again. So it's not enough subs. And now it's not too much sub information either that gets passed to the end. But I made sure that the very, very low end DC stuff is removed. Or halfway removed. I mean, it's not entirely removed. We still have minus 84 decibel, around 20 is not that much, as opposed to not more before. Yeah, well, high cutting kicks is toll. No, but seriously, whenever I'm making bass drums, I remove the very low end stuff because it creates more air, and it really does. And you have to trust me on this, and I would have to post the physical, deliver the physical explanation why another time. Maybe JCO, JCO, do that. Type it into the chat, please. Elohym asks, can't you low cut the amp this thing and let the pure low end shine through? No. Why? I mean, if I was using that in a track, I wouldn't want to have a bass line anyway. So I would like to have bass coming from something other than the kick. I guess that the very low end is not going to survive any sort of amp treatment in a healthy manner that remains useful in a track. So you could probably set up another processing chain and make a high cut, but then it gets so complicated. This is about making stuff simple, and it's simple. It's still 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it's not really simple anymore. But hello, Psychon. JCO. So by cutting it beforehand and bringing it back with the defined filter resonance gives you a pretty clean bass ride. I think at this setting it's just a way of reinforcing that. I mean, in fact, I used this filter to add more bass around here in this area, like you saw here. I made this rack like 3 months ago, so right now I'm sitting here and need to explain it to myself again, what the heck I was doing there. And I vaguely remember wondering if I want to add another EQ to reinforce something in some areas, and then I was like, no, I have some kind of EQ here, so just give me more bass. Not sure if that answers your question, and same with this. At this point, I was also wondering, do I want an EQ? But EQs are tame sometimes, depending on this. I made this as a multi-purpose rack for creating lots of samples, and for these things I want to have a set of controls that isn't too fiddly. That's why I didn't use an EQ for this. I tried, I think, to bring up the bass in the area around 40 Hertz with this one as well, but let's disable that. The filter really does a good job at doing that, and that's really nasty. So reinforcing, nice. Escalates quickly, so that's why this is the insert too much bass again after removing it for the sake of distorting the sound. If I wouldn't let's check out something just to see. Let's use that before it goes into the amp. I want to verify something. What you feed into the amps, it really makes a lot of difference. And I mean, amps, it removes a lot of the fizzle and energy and rawness. There is this fine point between and it's probably the presence here that's adding all this nasty stuff on top, but without that it's not as punchy, and that's what I wanted to get rid of, and that's why I used the EQ, now I remember, for that, and also for reinforcing the result. And just for fun, let's move that before the amp. And that's just not pleasant anymore. And these filters and EQs, before you go into the amps, and that was the point I was trying to make, what you put in there and even slight changes in the low end have a very great impact. So control it. That's really what I'm trying to say. Like I said, I'm a little bit tired from the weekend. Hello, Adrian. Adrian says, do you by any chance give feedback? Yes, I'm giving feedback on the Discord. Like JCO says, that's the way to go. And Isuren, hello, headbangers. Hello, Johannes. Sorry, came a little late to the video. No, you're not too late. You're here. So wouldn't add a bass line to this would you cable in the way? So you wouldn't add a bass line to this kick? How would you then get a rolling sound in the track? I would totally add a bass line to that, but just on a separate channel. I wouldn't try to run both through this array at the same time. There is still considerable space left for bassline, and I can also wait. What has happened? Oh, sorry. So yeah, sure. Bass or more percussion or whatever. Do it. Jack recommends Trash 2 for this. Yes, it's a great choice as well. I just like fiddling around with stock options for those who don't have that, and I think that a lot of stuff can be done with what Ableton or Bitwig has to offer on stock devices, and this is another case of me trying to prove you don't need to buy anything else, except sometimes you have to, or it makes shit easier, but it's a lot. I think the distortions in Ableton, the saturator as well, like I said, showed last time, and the amps and the pedal, they really do a good job. This is just good stuff. Use it to your advantage. Is there anything else to say about this, except you can find it in the descriptions? And yes, I should also try making that in Bitwig. And how about trying that right now with exactly the same sample? Just for the sake of fun, if you don't have anything else to ask. How about that? So let me quickly check. Amp, grid filth, dirt, reverb. Nothing like that in Bitwig, but okay. Let's try that if you don't mind. Kick 909, tune 10. Did I really? Let me quickly put that somewhere. Oh, come on. Hello, I want to see that in Explorer, please. Why? Why is it grayed out? I don't understand. Yes, please. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's me struggling with the very basics of computer use. Have you tried turning it on and off again? Yeah, let's forget about that and use just another sample. Herrgott. Yeah, it's part of the live pack. Why? Ach so, okay. It's part of the pack. Okay. Yeah. Anyway. So let's see if we can do that in a very few minutes, just for the sake of trying. 909. Oh, come on. Let's do this a different way and use this thing here. So that's that, and we are probably not loud enough. Let's change that. So what do we need? We need an amp. And we need another amp. And we need some noise. Let's use maybe the Bitwig. Oh yeah, that's nice. First, not that one. Topic is stock devices, right? And it sounds terrible. Let's use filter at this point. Let's add the compressor. Auto makeup, please. And right now, I think the kick is too long. Or not long enough. And the reverb has way too much something. And that's way too nasty. So, interesting way to think about the bass drums again. This is not the initial attack, but the punch area, which slowly before the body is setting in, which should be the this. But I still like the punch. So in this case, I would do that. I use an EQ to tame the area. What do we have here? Around 200. And this is just too nasty. Bit reduction thing, no. No. Noise, no. Yeah. I want to use stock devices, and what Bitwig doesn't have is this lovely vinyl distortion. What can we use instead? Could build something in the grid. Or maybe use this in a different way. So, what did we have in the other setup? Amp, noise, erosion. The filter was critical to bring in more bass and then put it through. I'm sorry. And that's way too much. And also had a delay. And something is still sucking up the air. No. And that's how fast shit can escalate, right? So we definitely need an EQ there just to get rid of the high end, just like in the other rack. And I think in this case I wouldn't use the amp twice, but the distortion, because it's lovely as well, maybe. Adjusting the output. That's whenever I'm looking there, I want to make sure you are not dying a painful death. And I think I cannot replicate exactly what I have in Ableton right now for various reasons, and one being, frankly, a lack of concentration today. I'm just still tired from this mad, crazy weekend. Overload. Yeah. I don't think I can mitigate this today. Questions. So Sturridge and JCO are discussing Bitwig versus Ableton. Yeah, JCO. Apparently, you're getting there with enough fiddling around. I don't think so today. I really don't. Why are you? Are you still fresh, JCO? You've been at the same weekend. We had a similar weekend, didn't we? Shouldn't you be utterly wasted right now or something? And by the way, I played 6.5 hours of music yesterday for no particular reason, and my legs aren't used to that anymore. It felt like sport. I should be DJing some more. Yes, Elohym, thank you very much. Reminder, analog summing. Let me quickly go back. So, what do I think about analog summing mixer? Yes, it's great. That is the short answer. I mean, that's exactly the reason why I'm using the Waves nonlinear summing plugin to get a little bit of this inaccuracies and noise and all that stuff. Whatever creates changes in the signal path, I think, or these non-linear things, is good. And that's analog summing. That it's just a number of things that happen along the way, and I really want a analog summer in hardware, but the cheap ones are probably easy to build oneself, but that's not what I want. I'm really looking forward to a summer track on Felix console at Abraum Studio someday soon, hopefully, when we are allowed to leave the house again. Just for the sake of getting the sound that only an analog summer gives. And I cannot really describe what that is, but I feel that this perfect way, or the mathematically correct way of looking at music, which is summing digitally, this 1 and 1 is 2, and 2 and 2 is 4, and stuff like that. That's not really good. The result will be perfect, but not musical. It is as musical as we fake it to become natural and musical. And that's what I'm talking about in my streams. Add noise and all this stuff. Just pan out things a little bit differently, and maybe put a little bit more distortion on the right side than on the left, and slight changes here and there. That creates the illusion of all the mess that's going on in an analog console, really. And it probably can sound exactly the same in the box if one would sit down and do exactly the same things with all channel and all settings. The result might sound the same, but it's just too much manual input, right? And if you route something through an analog mixer, you get all these inaccuracies and errors for free, and you don't have to worry about that. And you don't have to put the labor in and not use an additional plugin to introduce noise or errors of any kind, right? It's just that's the annoying part. So yeah, I like that very much. Question answered? Hello, John. Hello, Adrian Thomas. That delay is just a ping pong style delay. Yes. It's very similar to the one in Ableton. Has a little bit more granular timing options, I think, and also cross feedback between left and right, and not just the feedback, but essentially it is the same. And you can obviously insert something like a reverb or flanger into your feedback path, or another delay into the delay, and you can put a delay in your delay, so you can delay sounds while you delay. I heard. So there was something else. JCO says use a random used 16-channel Behringer mixer for $100. No, they come with other problems. DiGiCheck is correct. Analog summing is another universe at the level of a lot of money. It is. I mean, that's why I'm looking forward to something on Felix Insane Desk. It's just amazing sound quality, and very little noise, just right amount, and it sounds so super crisp and clear what's coming out. At the end, we were just playing a few tracks on that, and there was some kind of openness to the sound, and I wasn't expecting that from the track. I think we just listened to another number of tracks that we knew, and it sounded so spacious and without any EQs whatsoever. It's just signal in, signal out. It's kind of interesting, but also on the other end of the lot of money chain end. Hello, H2. Adrian, are you looking for, I mean, delays? There are tons of good delays, right? Do I have a free delay? Just checking. Delay. Free delays. I don't have. What's that? That is the Air Windows delay. But yeah, frankly, I wasn't looking for delays. I guess there are a lot of great freelays. H2 is asking, Ronnie, would you rather be a hippo or a rhino, and why? What? I'd like to be an O, because why not? But yeah, I would probably be a hippo, because they are among the very most dangerous creatures in the world, even though we don't think about them as such. Why am I choosing the hippo according to dangerousness? I don't know. Hello, Shavan. And yes, most digital audio workstations come with a capable stock delay. If it comes to simple delays, they probably all do the job. And like I said, you can put whatever you like into the feedback path of this one. And that can be very interesting sometimes. But sometimes I just, in this case, a stupid delay does the job, I think. I really want to do this probably with a fresh mind, building a similar kick destruction thing with Bitwig's resources, but it probably exceeds my ability to focus today. Sorry, this happens too. And yes, you can ask me anything. Yes, I'm sorry I didn't deliver a too philosophical answer to the hippo versus rhino questions, because I can't really relate with either of them. If you would have asked me if I wanted to be an ant or a rhino, I would probably have said ant. JCO says, I would love to see you close, how close you can get to what you did in Ableton there. Later then? What did you mean? Adrian asked, do you resample your creations and continue processing? Yes. And no. So, sometimes when I don't feel like making music, and maybe that's an interesting one, I have these deliberate sampling sessions where I just play around with a number of things, maybe try out a new plugin or something like that, or reactor. And my goal is to create a folder with samples, can be sequences, chords, drums, whatever, for later use. So I have the feeling I have created something that day, but it wasn't about a musically finished something or a complex thing, just exploring sound and what I find along the way. And then I have collected all these samples, and every now and then I remind myself, yeah, you still have these samples laying around, but how about using something from that? Very often I tend to forget that. And sometimes I do remember that there is something lying around, and that's when I will load a sequence or something into Bitwig, Ableton, whatever, and then I will, according to the context and track I'm creating along the way, also add more processing, cutting up, EQing, compression. So yeah, it doesn't happen too often that I'm giving up the control I have in a track by sampling a sound unless I'm sure I don't want to dramatically alter the sound at its source anymore. Once that point has passed, so probably somewhere in the mixing stage, I might do that, especially with bass drums. And I give you an example. The reason is setting up compression to work and maximize punch, like we explored beforehand. And it involves some timing, sample length, and all that stuff. And for example, when I'm creating a track and I want to have a drum fill, old school drum fill with a lot of kicks following in a row in a very fast order, the compressor, if I wouldn't use the sampled source, would probably have trouble keeping up with the timing of the fill. So you get these muffled kicks, especially if you have a compressor on drum bass, and you get this fill. It might lose all the punch, and that's when I'm especially sampling kick drums to mitigate that. And I find that kick drums samples are much easier to shorten once they are compressed and sampled. It's very easy in a fill to say, just remove the release or sustain to a level, so in between the very short hits you still have a little bit more room to breathe for potential bus compressors. That's a level of control I probably wouldn't have as easily if I used a full stack of processing on top and then going into another group. That was kind of a complex answer. JCO, are you drunk? And that is my question to you. That's nothing he's asking me. I'm very sorry for that. Follow-up question by Adrian Thomas. So for this kick resample, what you have then run the resample through the chain again? Yeah, could be interesting. Why not? If you, recursive destruction. Is it recursive? Elohym asked, okay, red ant or black ant? What's the difference except the color? I go with red. Yeah, thank you, JCO. I'm too wasted. Try it off stream. I don't know what I should try. Sergek's asking, is there a live after baseline? Yes, it's 909 hi-hats. And right, shake, whip. Okay, JCO, yes, now you've got me. I understood. Yeah, I should try that off stream. You wouldn't want me to try that on stream for sure. Hello, Dave. On your mess around sessions, how do you name the samples? By key? No, definitely not. There is, I have a weird naming scheme. It is probably the first thing that came to my mind when I was making the sound. So I have a folder full of drone 1 to drone 200 or so. And then low drone, eerie drone, spooky drone, not so spooky drone, airy drone, bassy drone, strange sequence 1, rhythmic mass 1 to 51, strange rhythmic mess, not so strange rhythmic mess, even stranger rhythmic mess, really painful rhythmic mess, and stuff like that. You get the idea. So no keys or whatsoever. No. So Gaspar is asking Pendrek, how do you organize your projects? My projects are messed up and I can't find anything in 3 months. Do you mind the folder structure where you're keeping your projects or the organization within the projects? I have a folder structure that says Ableton or Bitwig, and then there might be folders like Techno, Dub Techno, remixes. But I can assure you, depending on the time of day and my state of mind, I will also save projects somewhere entirely else, like a Bitwig project in an Ableton folder that happened, or I don't know. It's just chaotic sometimes. I do sometimes like Frühjahrsputz, the kind of cleaning up sessions you do early in the year, also with my important project folders. Every now and then I sit down and see if I can still find things. However, don't really rely exclusively on well-named folders, because I still know when I made something, or I have a vague idea if I made something like in 2 days ago, 4 weeks ago, or 2 years ago, so I can sort by date as well, right? And very often I discover my lost and found things that way. George, hey, George is asking, what kind of delays can you add to a kick to make it groove and roll? Well, stuff like that. And I would actually, it's a lot of fun if you want strange grooves in such a setting. Disable the lock tempo and set stuff by milliseconds and try finding out what grooves to you, so you're not deliberately stuck to the grid all the time. Another remark by JCO, trying to get as close to that kick processing chain from Ableton with Bitwig using Bitwig tools. I don't understand. Okay, but I thought this was about your project. Okay, George, let's go back to Ableton and let's see what we can do. What I mean. And Elohym, yes, a droney pack of samples is coming for Patreons. The last weeks were just a little bit too crazy, and there is so much going on right now. Why is it happening? So where is it? So finding interesting grooves. very close to the original, right? And you know what? I think today's stream is a very good example that I'm also just a human being who's relying on focus and concentration and not on magic. And this to me is not, I don't schüttel this out of the Ärmel. It's nothing that I just whack and it's done and it's gold all the time. If I cannot focus, and my ability to focus today seems to be rather inadequate to what I want to do, then nothing cool is happening as well. So yes, I'm a human. Maybe this stream is just verifying that. JCO, how about building something on that Kick Foundation? Not today. It's now, and it's 1.5 hours in, and I really, and I shouldn't do this much longer and waste your time. Alles nur Ausreden. Weird low hum on the right channel, not here. Yeah. Penrick, thank you for your helpful stream. Today? Really? Another question. How do you know your headphone level is not too loud to do ear damage? I know because, for one, it's driven by... Can you see it on the stream? No, it's driven by my multi-phase. It doesn't go to 11 by design. And I'm also, these days, very careful with my volume settings. So right now, I'm listening with -10, whatever that means in the context of these headphones. I think it works well for streams if I'm listening to tracks by others to get feedback. I'm always listening at -6, and I rarely go to full whack. I only do full whack with tracks that I have worked on for a while, and I want to get the full Monty in your face impression once I have made sure that nothing can happen that creates a loud buzzing noise like bass back in the day, because I'm grateful for my hearing and that I still have it, and that I only have a nasty tinnitus that I can ignore well enough. So that is my way. I wouldn't probably use, and it's also good that I have this set up digitally so it's accurate. I hope that question answered. Yeah, Elohym, pulling the human card to get off the stream, völlig in Ordnung. And you know what you know what's waiting? A beer. Dot initial, what would be ear damage level? Any level that is not ear damage level material, I guess. Subjective. I can tell you will probably find out if you face it. Really be cautious with headphone use. That's super important. To me it is. And I cannot have noise bursts as loud as 20 years ago with bass anymore these days. I think that would be a very, very bad idea. I mean, you also heard the story of little Louis getting these honk horns too close by the ear who lost his hearing. no. It's dangerous, especially as we grow older. We are getting more sensitive to these loud noise bursts. So be careful. So I would, for saving your time and me not talking my head around things today, conclude this for a day. So you have the Gullfoss code right now. You can play around with the kick destruction rack. You know what's going on there, even though I think the EQ explanation wasn't very conclusive. But you will find out. And yeah, if you want 6.5 hours of music, the link is also below in the description for any means. And I will do some more DJing sessions on Twitch, because I don't want YouTube. I would probably get too many copyright takedowns. And also, I don't want to. I would like to keep YouTube focused on music production content. Exactly that. Hey, Ronan. Yeah, using a limiter is always a good idea if you are working with headphones. I mean, odd things can happen all the time. Plugin is crashing, creating some noise bursts. I haven't had that in years, but still. Or ultimately, don't listen too loud on headphones and try to limit the volume where it should be limited. Here. So, yeah, guys, sorry, I will be back. Okay, Ronan says, I work with headphones and bass. I take no chances. No, you shouldn't. I totally get it. It's also one of the reasons why I'm not using bass anymore. I like my ears too much. So, yeah. Next stream, I don't know when. I've got to do the taxes this week and stuff like that. So there's a good chance that I will do another no brain music DJing stream, and I will let you know if we are connected on Twitter or Patreon or the Discord, or you will find out. So, and I shall stop now. And I wish you a good night and fun with the rec. And maybe next time it would be a good idea. I have some stuff to. Maybe we should make a session about how to record tons of samples in an hour or something like that. I have an idea for a method that could be interesting. So yeah, I'll get in touch. So I'm not sure if I'm streaming this week again in this focused manner. I really don't want to do such a stream like today too soon. I would like to keep up the quality of the last ones. Whatsoever. Good night. Oh, Isa is asking something. I cannot resist questions. I'm interested in how you make your hi-hats sound alive and interesting without going too random with it. So you can listen to it for 12 minutes, but can't tell what makes them organic. I can answer that right now really quickly. And the first answer is panning. little bit of LFO-driven panning with the auto panning, then combined with a nice velocity change in the sequence, maybe an odd pattern length, like 7 measures or 9 or 11, and controlling the sustain or decay release, whatever, within this pattern as well can create another layer of interest. And just if maybe it makes sense to take one of these things and make sure it happens at half the rate of the fastest modulation. So you have a nice variation over time, something that is changing very quickly, something that is changing predictably, but still interesting enough, and something that only happens ever so often. And that way you create or get into the direction of sequences like that. So doing it systematically makes sense. And that also applies to any sequence. So yes, post-stream, be a Discord hangout. Let's do that. Have a good night. See you next time. I will keep you informed.